Gilg J as Gilg Nerach.
As Sjordun Claare na Gael Reish's Bavaliam Shiwacha. My name is Robert Cutin Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Did the ever hear tell of old Bobby Bob?
Claare na Gael is a bilingual programme with part of it in the English language, as leis Perdelia Gisachilg, and with another part of it in the Manx Gaelic, Ginian Amera, the mother tongue of Ellen Vanning, the Isle of Man. As Banach and Jurish, well, having finished his tour of the island with his two companions in 1791, for his 1794 publication about it, David Robertson adds in a section with a review of the Manks History, which is interesting in its own right, though not to be relied on as historical study per se. The coffin Lucy Westenra folum sunni, ach nish a layer gain to Lucy na laisa coffin. Ach, ti gian cho aalin as rose, na yaid na shacht na ein as huri bes. A chanel and fairly John Seward arltach de grel de ne ish fiscal McGeertsen ne su fool as perchen East Hampstead. De pergenia gelje, de amelishel de pergenia gelje se Kishtey de grey. Now, we just had a great week of Uncruniach, so we'll be mainly listening to visitors in time from times past for our music this evening, starting with a Cornish traditional song about the Sprig of Thyme, performed by SOWENA. Sprig of Thyme, a version from Cornwall. Now, all the musicians of the band SOWENA, whom we heard there, have been to Uncruniach with other Cornish groups, though not as SOWENA per se. Now, David Robertson's review has brought us to the arrival of King Orry, ascribed to the 10th century. Now, this King Orry, of course, is the stuff of legends, and legendarily good, and, says Robertson, though he assumed the government by violence, his reign was undisturbed by any domestic commotion, and to his polity the Manks are indebted for the origin of their constitutional representatives, who for several succeeding ages sometimes feebly opposed, but more frequently sanctioned regal oppression. After a long reign, Orry was succeeded by his son, Gutrid, a prince who devoted his attention to the welfare of his subjects. He erected the noble relic of Danish architecture, Castle Rushen, and in that durable monument of his regal grandeur lies obscurely buried. Well, again we see this determination for things to be Danish. The Danish court was older, kingdom since the 700s or even a bit earlier, whilst the Norwegian royal court came when several petty kingships were merged in about 885. Fyddi draw I courage an seo yindyssyn ni von rair. The jaro shenmar ve as quayak be jint. Gesemmas vi jint eg pech enjach. Ach, na jai, ty ve maru rishon schachten. Gejinnach en goedsmoed leise tre shen, gian ma so. Rauf verreget hem de so ma so van me host. Te Jean de Doug van Helsing Gael byd em hostage, shen de grey na renny salje gemaag er Jimoes na barriach. Ve Jean de geer edin na ven varu, as tarn soes na far volien as Jean na sulien, as keert Elia forslen na mailen as scrutigen na fieglen. Esch jen da was doorte. On sjo, de onrid vis nieuw gasole rish de gully rid recordage. On sjo, de bio is dublich na wel kajin. Vi gremich egen soede falle, tre vi gin mjor, as ish kadlen a shul. Oh, tau moesta, trau visser de sen machara John. Ach, bi visser de rolje na san mi. As gin mjor ti fair, jane a nieuw veriu nis. Now, there was a photograph posted recently of the sadly missed Sophia Dale. Here she sings with the Manx band SKEEAL, She Neeneg Mish as aalin.
She neeneg mish as aalin kan hele SKEEAL mai. Så nachtfuß mich in dunje nach Jack mi gese hai. Va foglen ege mile van after sege kju. Ach tene fruch a kaglach is Tommy ans presume. Is auch men in en ulje schakken jish in dunje. Dre henke haje kan ik mi en schnachte verre jan. Ach din she dauder as a jollig heil mor emma hon. Va kidne get a drill and drie te skele rush me smell. De tjolle fuar ege to beges bok en Gael. As auch men in en ulje schakken jish en dunje. Deg mi me chudje ulje en tre henk mi de show. Ach din she dauder our Harlem en de riedel jor. De krugen en kachuljen is krugen se tai. De jergen en se labby en tre Tommy go de lie. As auch men in en ulje schakken jish en dunje. Jan be von Kuljot, da gillish du me voorachten arms ever red. Da geel more now to lek as trillion until you're a station for the foreign ish to lost the lesh be more. As auch men in en ulje, schakken jish en dunje. Now wel me leken nag like be pustrish dunje fes. As Tommy jelverish a chaddy gin again pes. Ta rud en jacht a chishe, te kom along se tai. De wagen skal me leggen, de stand te schier skrai. As auch men in en ulje, schakken jish en dunje.
a silly song of mine in Manx Gaelic, Sé neen mish aalin, and recalling the wonderful voice of Sophia Mara with the band SKEEAL. Seo mo te de fel I niawch sol o'r isiolio na firelia. The Cajun tretan a niaw veriw cadl stai, Caws Claare renny cawra vergoilsteach uliw leis de rai, de huisige mag shen va de soede volle stai. Tan edin ook seizige mag shen motad. Ach, tan fair shoch o millish, mo vi trein a rawi maasden a niaw veriw, gol bakkes volmid na meriw Cajun. Genel muskid en shen, jich, as me saw te ginu dolia de wel fame or marrowy choudsteen a chadla. Janie me draum o fwyl rioja chousdaijim, as gau me toiach der tiggle de rau me saich jay shieldness van Helsing. Ach, me vi de fear marrow, crave on jay atchim ons marrowy. Je geen nie sorm as te gien de renne a cochleis en edden, de renne fagen a cochleis en edden hem. Son doorte bonus les BEOGA, wel uw kruilnish. Dan soer me, na gin chonna orm rauwer chutjelirach, ta me arltach de haige jay. The third prince of the Danish line, and as I mentioned, Robertson is perhaps incorrect in describing these as Danes. There were Danes in the Irish Sea area. The Danes generally came into England, but some did push across, push through, and into the Irish Sea as well, and others went round to Ireland. But anyway, of course, we have the national anthem with words by W.H. Gill referencing Orry the Dane. The third prince of the Danish line was Reginald, who sacrificed the dignity of his character to lust and intemperance. His vices accelerated his ruin. For having seduced a lady whose brothers were soldiers of fortune, they revenged her dishonour by the death of her seducer. Now this is a different Reginald to the one we've heard the stories of before, who was slain by the Knight Ivor for imprisoning and attempting to seduce the beautiful Matilda. We'll come on to that Reginald again in Chapter 3 of this review of the Manx History. Except, of course, it may just be that this line of kings is a bit fanciful or maybe out of sync, so we have an earlier lustful Reginald who gets slain in one way, and a later lustful Reginald whose demise is a little different, but meets a violent end nevertheless. Probably the same tale, just slightly differently told. Welsh band CARREG LAFAR, with a tune conjuring up images of a beautiful river flowing through the Welsh countryside on a summer's day. The River of Summer, Afon yr Haf.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Sure Radiw Stasiwn yn Asiwn Radio Fanning, a si Claare na Gael tan Claare Show, Merin Peen, Robert Gytyn Corswell, Robert a Corslach.
I've heard tell of our Bobby Bob.
As wat they are a minstew, Silling Show. Ta Claare na Gael, maas na chieden de podcasten wis er gedden nasty is, voor die je korstjaar te gedden had through de degge Radio Vanning heen. Na bij keren er een podcast elia, me wis radio na maastok, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Audible, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn na Alexa. Kreinacht nieuw en overvoeltag show. Niem garabaya kion as lina bielek lesh garlied, as niem boele kippen through the korp. Hugge armweer krauw, smunjen lodem or so, korp a ven urri van mi graach. Ach, ne jai, krauw en enjacht en geledjes van mi jerkelrish. Van mi ons firnjes, gold toiach weer krauw kion tweenish a creatuur show. Een fair show, Jane en jou veru, maar van Helsing Greirish, as de chor 4 day. Nee, possible de wel graai, sledden chou stai, de sledden chou moei. Durimi rish moerein tre van Helsing gold toiacht. Ach, hiase maar de bege kuilts is munjenegge. Lug tamult begren I duna chinja a foga lesh pult dus doorte. Tas smunjen weem. As tammy en jenu soes ma eigne machon de bissen rid share. De beiden nach daar der ma eigne jinnens nish, se tullach shaw, kuljina shen visriano. On this event, and we're talking about the death of Reginald now, Olav, having assumed the crown without the approbation of the King of Denmark, was, with much apparent friendship, invited to his court, but on his arrival was arraigned and executed as a traitor to the supremacy of the Danish throne. His brother Aalin succeeded him, who, after an equitable reign, died in Ireland, and had for his successor Aalin, whose memory has been branded with every crime. He was poisoned by his governor, and most probably succeeded by MABON, a gallant prince who, for refusing homage to the English crown, was deprived of the diadem of the Isles. It was, however, soon afterwards restored to him with a plenitude of honour. He was created by the English monarch admiral of a numerous fleet, with which he annually circumnavigated the British Isles, to guard them from the rapine and barbarity of the Scandinavian pirates, who, at this period, were a terror to the neighbouring kingdoms. Our visitors to Uncroniac and performing for the Villa Marina a few years ago was Scottish, well, supergroup I think you'd call them, CAPERCAILLIE. Here they perform Himbo.
CARREG she.
Karen Matheson singing with the band CAPERCAILLIE with a Scottish traditional song, but with a tune in the mix, Amon, by Breton guitarist Gilles Le Bigot. It's uncertain how long Macon reigned, by whom he was succeeded, but in the 11th century, Godred Crovan, a Norwegian hero, having accompanied his king in the invasion of England, and being there defeated, sought an asylum in this island, where he was hospitably received by the natives. Now, Godred Crovan's father, Harold the Black of Islay, joined the Norwegian king Harold Hardrada in invading Harold Godwinson's England, sailing their longships up the river system to near York. But Harold Hardrada was defeated in the Battle of Stamford Bridge near York on the 25th of September in 1066. Godred Crovan was only about 16, maybe younger, and he remained with their longship on the river and was able to get away. He came to the Isle of Man for refuge. In fact, he's said to have spent some of his boyhood here. Harold Godwinson's army, whilst it was victorious, then had to march all the way south when on the 14th of October they were faced with the invasion of William of Normandy and the Battle of Hastings. Ach te ridden Elia de Ayrthair, as ridden te Tausen Kiert na Smooth Dolly, no na wel Fissain oru. Sneeuw cramp te shaw. Genelli fos ach or jerre biois, ach hig shen ons trei. As liorish ginoe nish, yinach shen gedden reirish gouge I de breg. Ach, eish fuddy de be femine Arthur, as krenach nimme jinstemach jon shaw. Maar visus, honnig na lodden scornach Lucy, as honnig na lodden solach rusen a feitje sa tailius, maar visus, honnig a coffin, follum, ryer, as leaden dew, lesh ben na welle chochleach, de rain a rose as na sailor, rishacht and luggy gedden bes, maar visus as fised a saw, as a chumma ben ryer, hug lesh a peitje as the rullick, as na jaions, na keelen et heen na rauwes krell, krenach is for them jerker rish Arthur, Guinness ega fair erbijin of the ridden chen, krele. Va ouders ega orm treg au mi soule vine fagek, trevi ons red a vesh. Breton guitarist Gilles Le Bigot, who I mentioned, plays with the Breton band Skolvan. Now, they take their name from an old Breton lament, Gwerz Skolvan, of which this is an extract sung by MARIE-JOSEPHE Bertrand.
Skolvan, Skolvan, is koblion, zo de tragreis o lander schon, zo de tar schon, da greis o land, in Kishan vares kan is kan. In Kishan varas kaniska, Panamans Skolvan, da velti var keu, keu esantan war harseu, kavesantan war harseu.
As was Shen Piche, that was an extract, in fact, of MARIE-JOSEPHE Bertrand, recorded in 1959, just part of an 8.5-minute performance of the history of Skolvan, which actually dates back to a manuscript of the 12th century. Tafisem de velier leidau de rauw ai marinach enjachem de ren mi ridden de chumrele vai cor sledden or I morjizage. As fuddy, de velis mullion ons I smoo marinach elia, de rauwe venshaw, unlook it as is bio. As ons I na smoo marinach nohulju, de vel shingen varui. Nia eis genen en de wel shingen, ons en marinus varui trúd na eienain, as me saw be een jou vaner de moer de brech. Ach not much we shigga arach, a shen and rid smedde giaull. As nia smunnion na kierden der a wish as vergraai ege ori, on lookit as ish bio, as ni shen cor jollus en ashles ege, jane ridden grainer en I sorrens, as rish, nia smunnion fuddy de velshin kjaart, as de rawe graai, de rauwe graai go en noil, son shen as ulju, fair jan en jou veriu. A try. Dinch me da kiert de rauwes, near is shen tam je ninsige moeren. At the time that Godred Crovan sought refuge in the island in 1066 after the Battle of Stamford Bridge, says Robertson, the reigning prince of man at this period was Godred the son of Sirich, who from his cowardice, barbarity and injustice became odious to his subjects. With a penetrating eye, Godred Crovan observed the discontents of the people, and, animated by regal ambition, formed the daring project of dethroning the king. But this ambitious plan he concealed from the inhabitants, till he should be invested with force sufficient to commend success. To obtain this, he withdrew to his native country, and, arming a numerous fleet with great expedition, returned to this island. In his absence the tyrant died, and Fingal, his son, was seated on the throne, from whose youth, mildness, and generosity the Manks promised themselves many blessings. The virtues of this prince, inspiring his subject with heroic loyalty, for some time frustrated the hopes of the invader. Irish band BEOGA getting up, as the title of that medley suggests, to some of their Antics, which highly entertained the audience in the Centenary Centre in Peel a few years ago.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Stasiwn yn asiwn yn sio, radio fanning. Ys I Claare na Gael tan Claare sio, mish Robert gyda'n cars, wel Robert y carslach.
Have I heard tell of old Bobby Bob?
Nish, nod fel fissem dyn ei ffyrniach toliw. Ta fissem chi tausen cyrt na smw, dy fel ei ersen, cost na trwyd na ostiag yn siarw, dy roschen 4 ure. Sain desen, na bach, surral ni korer edin jou duge de. Eis, Fodmuch nin gútses on Maya Zuljumagirt as Corshide. Tama haig ni jint, ligdun gol. Neos gol tainach as a tai benriched, as ginu shiga de velolju de mai. Mahan heen, nim kiaw ni on shaw, sarulik shaw, sanach dem pin. Een of erach neos chit daus a taiach Berkeley eg jaierach lag. Nim koremer Arthur die hit nies, as a dunje gebruisjen nies as America hug a voerlegge. Na san me be oberein oljude, you know. Nim chit murt, gouders Piccadilly as nim golgenair on shen. Son sein dau vei on shorish, rosh me vis a green goldalai. Ma so hugshin a tai meriw fo glass, as hankshin vai. Godred Crovan, being twice repulsed, in fact his invasion fleet twice tried to put into the Len but was driven back both times, being twice repulsed, effected by a stratagem what he couldn't accomplish by violence. In a dark night he concealed in a wood under a hill near Ramsey 300 of his troops, and on the morning landed the remainder of his forces, which, being opposed by the Manks with their usual heroism, were again almost vanquished. But in the moment of supposed victory, Godred vigorously renewed the combat. The troops that formed the ambuscade now burst upon the rear of the Manx army. A well-disputed conflict ensued, and at length the tide of conquest turned against the Manx. Their king, with the prime of his nobility, fell in the battle, and the residue yielded to the generosity of the conqueror. And in fact, since turning to Godred Crovan, we're on safer ground because Robertson is citing the Chronicle of the Kings of Man and the Isles, and we have here our own Godred the Conqueror. Now, visitors to the first time the festival was held, and Crynach was held in 1978, were Andy, Kit and Neil Davey, and Andy sings the Cornish song Rhea Lever, in which you'll hear several Cornish place names.
Gael, aalin ra, blue them in Colsum and Jound and Roach and Carriol and Dress and Cress and Ostel. Nid you Gwerz, nid you die fia, on the fall Tiskylam, Malewa Emporia. Tau, tau, Robin Gael, why you with my wizzy, in and will us break him up and not you never kissy. Tau, tau, Robin Gael, why you with my wizzy, in and will us break him up and not you never kissy.
The brothers Davy making up the band Booker, and the Cornish song Rhea Lever, some say, and what do some say? Some say the devil's dead and buried in Foy, and others say he's alive in Newquay, I can't remember now, whether they say that was Porthtowan, Snostal, pretty much the same. Sinai was in the song Porth Ear, and Mevagissy, pretty much the same there. And of course the devil turns out in each case to be one of the emmets. Now we move on to Chapter 2 of this review of the Manks History, a review of the Manks History from the Norwegian contest to the death of Godred the son of Olaf, on the day after the battle, AD 1066, and here Robertson is wrong on 2 counts. 1066 saw the Battle of Stamford Bridge, but the young Godred Crovan escaped Stamford Bridge and took refuge here in the island, rather than his native Scottish Isle of Islay. It was only after his return to Islay, when he'd assumed his father's powers and could command a war fleet, that he succeeded, on his third attempt as we heard, to take the Isle of Man by force in 1079. Now, the chronology of the Chronicle of the Kings of Man is faulty here, but Robertson doesn't quote the date given, which is actually 1056, and to be fair, Robertson probably realised it couldn't have been 1056, and so amended it to a date he knew of, when the youthful Godred Crovan had come to the island after the Battle of Stamford Bridge, 1066. Chosan sin herish ballin a rollica, na rauro dolly, as dimman sin back as Piccadilly. Note fegit Lorish Van Helsing sa Fort Mantoegas a Tyech Berkeley, enmesich den fairly John Seward. Njowly breed. En schacht o lees feed mijn fower. Machara John. Tammy skriwsju al de jinnach riddenach chitorm. Tammy gulma lummerken de freilaris a rullik shen. Salium na gin fairjane a njau veriu en in a Lucy for Gael noch. Ma saw in a verach de bee na Gina. No Sean yim lianten shartans de riddenach maili. Garlied as crucifix, as ma saw corsila doris a tai meriu. Tifir egg mastan of njau veriu, as nee cor Gael dau. Mary Shen genellet shoach de chumreili by chit mach as. Fuddy na jinnat goil njart or is eskiri cars na stiach on, son a tre shent en a njau veru debejach, as te oru feathen mach a says vis jinusus and litrumus slew, creer be vis shen. Now, though we're not actually playing a STAA this year at Uncruniac, Greg and Hilary, Cayley and Grani were playing at various times, and this is based on Sayes' poem Kishtey the Yindyssyn, and Sayes was also at Uncruniac playing, as was Feach. Manx band STAA and Kishtey the yindyssyn, a box of wonders. Bim fagus de saw foot na hei, fine laigrania, der a lug irina grania. As me vis veg goddess a vera insacha, nim insacha. Son and in a Lucy, na roi, chanel aller biem. Ach de vel poor nishe gunair elia, as fissega de veli marsden en jou veru, de hira aljachtdek as de Gael CAPERCAILLIE. And now, in 1079, after Godric Crowan's successful invasion of the Isle of Man, assembling his army, submitted to their choice, either to divide the lands among themselves and reside here, or to plunder the isle and to return to their own country. And we'll see how that went next time. Ach nish by Claare and Gael as signed on Corcion and Claare. We welcome back Chris Pearson to present 2 hours of the best chill-out music for your Sunday evening here on Manx Radio between 7 o'clock and 9. And then at 9, Judith Leigh will be here to present Sundown. From next Friday, the 4th of August, the Festival Anticeltique de Lorient gets underway, and then from next Saturday, the Eisteddfod Genedlaethol will be taking place at Bodleian on the Llyn Peninsula in Gwynedd. Manx involvement in both, but more of that in the next couple of weeks. And we close with music from mainly Welsh band Jamie Smith's MABON, but with several musicians from here in the island playing with them from time to time, and with Jamie himself, of course, living in Peel and playing as part of the Mega Manks Ceilidh band and at various Ceilidhs and sessions over the course of the past week. And indeed thanks to all who made it yet another cracking week of Uncruniach this year. Ach, Siananish, as Masaw, until the next time then, this is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Oh, Bobby Bob.
Wishing you a very good night. Eve, I'm a Chrieriu, as Orsel ye, as me Yirian shared you will you.